Hello, everyone. Back again. Yeah, this is part two. If you forgot about what part one was about, with nobody here, clearly, then we'll have a look. So we've currently got, this is our overview of what we're doing today. Let's move that out. I've got no lights. My lights have finally given up the ghost here. So sounds like something I've got to pull out the transformer. It's clearly broken. And yeah, so we've got we make that a bit wider. There we go. And yeah, so at the moment in this simple curriculum for me, we've done, yes, last time we did, let's just make sure I'm on the right place. We did, it's called fundamentals. This is 12 sessions. So interface panels, we've done that. Yes, put that over here, running out of desk space. So last time we looked at interface and workspace, just the navigation, the preferences, some changes or whatever. There wasn't too mainly the interface itself, and finding that the drivers were a bit manky. And I've actually got out the Logitech PC keyboard today, which has been hiding, so I can get those lovely hotkeys, lovely command keys as well. So today's is scene management. So we'll be looking at project structure, units, naming conventions, and the save discipline. So last time we looked at interface and workspace, and just looked at the viewport navigation. By the way, if you can see, we've got Alt left mouse button stuff. How did you see? Well, we couldn't see those, but I've got Claude to write me a little doodad here, which you can't see because it's at the moment. Let me just make that a little bit smaller so you can see what's happening now. Does it appear? Oh, it does appear. You can see I've got a little down the bottom here. I've put up a little Alt, made a little key thing. So if I press H, it comes up. Yeah. So it just shows you what keys, like right mouse button, middle mouse button, all three buttons. So that's quite useful if you wanted to go back. Now, how does it show shift? It does shift and control L. Well, control left, control right, got Alt. Super is window button. Super. Oops. And we've got keys, number keys. Yep, all cool. Let's put that back to 3. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, so that's showing a little thing that it built, trying to make it a bit easy for anyone to understand. So we got that. Just a quick thing, if we go Alt left mouse button and it comes up, Alt left mouse button, it's rotate. Alt middle mouse button is pan. Alt right mouse button is dolly in and out, or you can use the scroll wheel. If you press, if I make a couple of objects here, let's move them about. Look, it's not shimmering so much today. Well, I say it's not shimmering. Still not brilliant. And let's put a few objects here. Yeah, it's still not as perfect as I'd like. Still shimmering, but even though I'd put in, oh, I did the interesting. Even though I've updated the drivers for that. Anyhow, so, and then we've got that should be better than that. Yeah, if I put on smooth wireframe shaded, yeah, definitely some artifacts going on here. Is it resolution dependent? Anyhow, we'll have to put forward with that until I work it out. And we've got hotkeys, like we can press F to frame all. I can just select that and go frame selected, boop, all to frame all. We've got space that toggles the quad, single view. And if I hold space down, up comes a hotbox again. And remember, we are going to hide all the hotbox. We don't need that because it's annoying. We've got the main tools. If I press Q, did Q come up? Yay! I might make that a little less grey. Q is select, W move, E is rotate, I scale. F8 if I select an object and press F to focus on it. So F key is my favorite. And we've got F8. I've got F8 now. F8 goes to vertex mode. F9, sorry, F8 goes between object and component mode. So we have, we're not going to look too much into that, but just going through the hotkeys. It goes into components. And while we're in components, we can press F9, which takes us into vertex selection. There's F8, nice little tips come up. F9, was that F9? No, F10 is edge selection. We can see we've got some edges. And F11 would be face selection. Very easy. And if I go back to F8, trying to remember this, we go back to objects, so objects and components. Now, normally it will end up wireframe, but we can also look at smooth preview. So I'm just going to put this onto, there we go, right. If I select the object, we've got smooth preview, which is 1, 2, and 3. So 1 is just normal. 2 is smooth preview. Never model with smooth preview. It's just showing you what possible subdivisions you might have, but it's okay to have a quick look, but it's not really what you want to do. Building curvature. And the final one, 3 is cage. Oh, sorry, 2 is cage plus smooth. 3 is smooth. So yeah, what other colors we got? We've got G. So if I was to let's see now, if I was to press a face, I'm trying to think of something I can repeat. It's repeat. So if I go to object mode, and let me just shift move that. Sorry. W, shift move. This little clone has come up. Okay, and then I press G. That's not a tool, is it? Okay. Yeah. So if I do a tool, it'll repeat it. I haven't used a tool yet. But shift clone. Right. And we've got a channel box on this side. If I select it, which is our exposed values from the attribute editor, and we can see some history here. We've got the attributes, all the attributes for our cylinder, the transform. Remember, that's a separate node, you could say. We've got the cylinder shape, the number of cylinders, and what have you, and render stats, how it renders, if it can receive shadows. And we've got polycylinder, which is one of our constructions, one of our history things, and I can change the number of divisions here. And we've got initial shading group and the open PBR shader, the basic shader that's assigned. Over on the left hand side, you've got the outliner. This is where all the objects are. We're going to have a little bit more look into that today. And if you wanted to, if it was closed, if I pull this off and close it, I can press Control A to bring up the attribute editor. And where's the outliner? Okay. I thought outliner was one of the ones. Okay, let's just put that back again. Let's reset it again. Reset factory default. Okay, so the outliner. So we got Control A, which is the attribute editor. Yep. You press Control A to go between them. So Control A helps it's a hotkey. We've got the outliner here, which is why can I not see this document? Oh, I see. Keep it docked on the left for complex scenes, and we're going to be looking at how we can manage and manage our scenes in here. Viewport 2. This is our hardware thing, which is still playing up. I could just see if I've got anything in here I can play with. Don't know. I'm not quite sure. So I've got hardware render globals, but yeah, it's definitely a hardware issue. I'll have to work on that after we finish here. And then we've got preferences. So that's what we modded display. It's Windows settings, preferences. Here we go. We've got all the preferences. We can set the undo queue. That's always important. And in the undo queue, if I can find undo, yeah, always keep that to infinite, really. I mean, what can you do? and then we display grid options. So, and we go to display, and we've got grid options. It gives you some ideas of the units that we've got for the grid and the subdivisions and the colors. And if you want grid lines or subdivision lines or what have you. So we close that. And you can see that we've got, just thought I was in Blender for a second. You can see we've got the nice grid there. If I press Alt, is it Alt B? If you press Alt B, you can see we can change the background color to black, a deep gray, the pale gray, or this nice shaded thing, which I used to be a fan of this, not anymore. So we go back to a nice bright neutral gray, and that was it. Now today's session is scene management. How Maya's project system organizes all the files, okay, and so on. So I'm going to hide this. Well, have a quick look through. We're going to look at this is only like 45 minutes. So we're going to look at Maya projects, how it saves it on file and organizes folders. We're going to look at the working units, naming conventions, about grouping, and look at display layers and the save convention and auto save. But don't know. I have my own ideas about saving conventions because sometimes you forget what you did on the last one or what you changed. So this is quite a straightforward, simple little one today. So I'm going to hide that and hide that, pop. Now, right, okay, so there's a lot more hotkeys. I'm not going to worry about them. I'm going to keep this, I'm going to get rid of the timeline editor if I can find it. Let's just, the quickest way is just to pull it out and then get rid of it. Okay, so let's just see where, yeah, so I want to keep these bottom bars so I can keep the little key things. I'm going to try and make them a little bit more obvious, I think, but yeah, it doesn't matter. So right, now Maya projects, if we come up to the menu up here, we'll see something that has, where's the projects? Oh, sorry, create, just trying to find it, projects. Right, the project window, and we've also got set project. Just open up the project window for a second. Now the project window gives you a default location, which is C, Steve, OneDrive, Documents, Maya projects. And the current project is default. Okay, we're going to leave this for a second. And default is a folder, and within that folder we have all these other these primary locations for things like scenes, which is our modeling, templates for assets, images for any textures, source images for stuff that's rendered out, render data for things like shaders and what have you, clips, animation clips, any sounds we have. Yes, we can drop sounds in this. Any disk thing for disk cache, any movies that we make, maybe thumbnail movies, any translator data, don't know what that's about, stuff for time editor. We have an auto save, which is interesting, and then we have scene assembly. Now we don't need to worry about that. Then we've got secondary project locations like source images, 3D paint temperatures, ifs. So these will come up if needed. Okay, if these are needed, they'll come up. So if you create some particle cache or render data, they'll start appearing. And we've got translator data locations and custom data. So it encapsulates this whole thing into a project. So I'm going to create a new project, and we're going to call it part 2. If I can type P. Have I disconnected? P. Oh, so I haven't. I've got to click on it. There we go. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, got to click on it. Remember, I'm learning this again. Part 02, and then this is location. So Steve, OneDrive, Documents, Maya projects, and I can show that in the files here. Yeah, where's my files gone? Let me just bring that up. So in the files here, I'm going to go to Maya. Okay, it's Maya, and we've got. I've got to do 26 and 27 on here. Can I make this view bigger? Do you know, I don't know how to do that. Maybe if I drag it into here. No, I'll leave it here. Actually, yeah, I'll drag it into here and I'll save. I'll just close that down. Yeah, it might be a bit bigger, maybe not. Okay, so Steve Personal Documents Maya. Okay, so this is what's on my machine here on the OneDrive. And we've got things like 2026, and this is the environments and the presets and the scripts and the preferences. If you find, by the way, if you find something goes a bit funny, you can always delete the preferences folder and reset it as 2026. We're in 2027. It's very familiar. This is the environment that's currently being used, and we've got preferences, which are like, oh, I don't know, menu set preferences. Anything you save is all put into here. Then we've got things like presets, nothing there. We've got several scripts, streaming. Forget all this for the moment. The real one is in projects. So this is where all your projects will hold. It doesn't need to stay here. It can be elsewhere. But within there, we'll find we've got default. So if you look in default, we've got all those folders. This is our default one. And if I open scenes, yeah, we've got something called test. This is what we did yesterday. So it knows where to save stuff within the projects folders. Sort of knows. So if I go up and go back to the projects, you see we haven't got another project there yet at the moment. So now if I click part 2, shall I put part 2? Yeah, and I'm going to click accept and go back to here. We see we've now got part 2. It's loading up to OneDrive, and you can see in here we've got all our folders created. So that's great. Yeah. Oops, still instead of an animal. So that's good. So what's good about this is if you don't use projects, you start saving them willy-nilly wherever. It's very difficult to keep it together, encapsulated. People don't know where things are, so always have projects. Okay, let's move out of the way. So how do we? So we've got the projects. So let me go to edit, Windows project editor. No, file project editor. There's the project window. We've created that. You can always rename these. I wouldn't do it, because if somebody opens it, how would they know? So this keeps everything together. So how do we go between projects? So if I go click on set project, it tells us we have this little window come up, and at the moment it's set to the default, which is Steve OneDrive Documents Maya projects, and we've got default and part 2, and you can add an image to this if you wanted to, but anyhow, so we've got part 2, so I'm going to set that. It automatically sets to begin with. So if I click set, and we are now in that project, and if we go to project window, this is where we are. Okay, project window, excellent. And that's a good way of managing your projects. And always set the project before you start. So if I was to go like if I was to make a new one called I don't know, spaceship. There you go, and accept. It now should be in. It'd be nice if it actually told you up here. I'm sure it tells you somewhere. Does it tell me which project? I can't see it. I've always thought it used to. If I go back to the project window, we can see we're in spaceship. So I know that I'm in 02. I'm no doubt there's a command line to start it up with your project. So I'm in part 2, set that project. So now if I was to save this now, file, save as, save scene, and we can see it's already put it to the project, and you can see all the current project path is part 2, and these are all the different folders that we have. Now it's a scene that we're going to put into here. You can always set projects as well, so you can change projects as well in here if you wanted to. So if you accidentally in the wrong project, you can always just save it out or save it to a different project. Okay, so we're in yep, gives you the path. I think that's the bookmarks. Yep. What else have we got? We've got general options, default file extensions, copy texture maps, unless reference, copy jiggle files. That's so funny. Then we've got specific, like use full names for attributes on nodes. Not a good idea. We could save a thumbnail for this. Okay, and capture. Okay, and save. So now that's saved that little thumbnail for that project, for that but for the where did it go? Save thumbnail play blast. So we're going to see how that. We got say universal scene description. Whether we want to, well, I'm not going to go into USD yet. Material X. Yeah. Okay, so we're all done, and we're going to give it a name, and we're going to call it what was it? What were we on? Part 2, part 02, and you can either save it as my ASCII, which I recommend, or my binary. ASCII is a little bit more resilient because it's text, but it's up to you. I'm going to save it as my ASCII and save as. And now it's saved. If I go to File, Open Scene, and we've got Part MA, it's not showing me it. I thought it would show it. Then why have I got a thumbnail then? Interesting. So there's Part 02. Now, that doesn't really help us much, okay? I would have thought that would open a thumbnail. Why do I got a thumbnail? Is that for the project thumbnail? Okay, and we can open that and save it and what have you. Let's just go to File, Project window. Oh, sorry, cancel. File, Set Project. Am I going to get a picture of that? Yeah, interesting. Okay. I would have thought I'd have that. Wonder what that was for then. But that's not actually very useful. Now, one thing about saving files is you've got to be... Somebody here? No, of course not. Is that you've got to be pretty careful about saving to cloud sync tools like OneDrive and Dropbox, because if the especially binary files, because if they synchronizing mid save, then you can lose data. So try to keep stuff on a local drive, or at least on a network drive. Now, working units. So the default measurements for Maya is centimeters. Okay, and you think, well, does it matter? Well, it does matter, because things like Arnold lighting and dynamics and anything that work with sort of centimeters and inches and stuff, like, for instance, we've got things like Bifrost. I need to go to the FX, and we've got things like Mesh, motion graphics, XGen and stuff. Very likely those will need more. We'll use the default units, the Maya units, for that. So, and you can always notice this, because if you have two objects and someone's been working on another object, you bring it in and it's like 100 times the size or 100 times smaller, you know that the like it was maybe not 1 centimeter, but 1 meter or 1 millimeter or 1 foot. But I'm always very unit agnostic. 1 is a 1 is a 1. Okay. Clearly, if you're doing something like 100 by 100, that's fine. That's okay. You can fit that in there. But if you're using like 1,000, then start thinking about that these are 100 units. So you need to start changing things. So how do we change the units? We go to Windows and back to Preferences. And we're looking for working units. Working units. There's a W. Where's my working units? Or does it just say units these days? Settings, preferences, working units. Where's the working units? So we've got interface, UI elements. It would be under display, settings. Okay, here we are. Yeah. So I'm trying to remember this. Now we've also got a world coordinate system where axis is Y up on in Maya. Sometimes other systems are Z up. Then we've got linear Okay, the working units is linear. We can set meters, foot, yards, you know, in case, for instance, if you're modeling something that's made of feet or whatever, but I usually stick to centimeters. And you've got angular in degrees and radians. Good luck with radians. That sounds like maths. And then you've got positional tangential tolerance. So yeah, you can go do to meters if you want. Somebody in the studio, they always just stick to 1 unit. If you know 1 unit is 1 foot or 1 whatever, stick to centimeters. And if you start messing around, changing from feet to meters to whatever, people are going to get confused. If you stick to centimeters and convert, you'll be fine. If it's a big project, probably leave a note in the projects to say that the scale is 100. 1 unit equals 100. Otherwise, you're going to be sort of white out. You're going to have a huge thing here. So sometimes if you get too small, you're going to have problems. But yeah, so that's the working units. That's under preferences, window preferences, settings. Now, naming conventions. We get rid of that. Now, at the moment, we've got, let's just bring these. I'll just hold X down, drag them in. Just holding a snap down. X is a snap X key. Right, okay, so press F to frame it all. And remember, we're not in. So we've got 3 little things here. Haven't you noticed it's called PQ, P cylinder, P plane? And you notice they've got this construction history. It says polyplane there. This is a constructor that it's built from, that Maya's put in for you, but we don't want any of that. So I'm just going to get rid of, select those, and we go edit, delete by type, history. Watch on the right hand side as the input disappears. The more things like extrude and what have you, you'll get all sorts of construction history appearing here. And if you have too much, it can go badly for you. I always put a little hotkey up here to get rid of history. I wonder if there is a delete history here. Can't see it. Nope. That's center pivot. Delete by type. Oh, there is one. Delete by type history. So if I create a new cube here, see it's got history. If I click that, it's a little clock, isn't it? That's quite good. That deletes a history. Okay. And you've also got things like center pivot and freeze transformations. We're not getting into any of that at the moment. Well, not yet until we animate something on a spaceship or something. Okay. So we've got cylinder, poly, whatever, but that's not terribly useful. Not terribly useful for us. So we need to think about some naming conventions. And what I suggest, which is if it's a sort of generic amongst modelers, is if it's geo, call it geometry. If it's geometry, call it geo underscore. So geo fuselage, geo left wing. If it's a group, we could go group body or a group of controls. This will become important when we move to start setting up our radio frequency detector tester. Then we've got matte materials. Not sure. Well, yeah, if the materials appear in there. We've got textures, texture file nodes, lights, LGT is good. Cameras, deformers. There's some others that you could think about, like if you're doing rigging, you could have J&T for joint. If it's a curve, you could have CRV for a line object, a curve object. But it just helps you sort stuff out. And I'll show you out. I'm just going to make a couple of curves here. There we go. We'll have that curve there. Don't worry about looking at these curves. I'm just going to put a couple of curves. Now you can see we've got NURBS curves here. Let's not worry about NURBS curves too much. But if I just push that, and we've got a curve here. We've got all sorts of different names, and it just starts getting a mesh. So let's think about. Oh, sorry, Sook. Sorry, Stilton. I'll push that down there. It's on your bottom, isn't it? Now this is geometry. Okay, so the quickest thing to do is to double click, and we'll call this geo underscore, and we could call it what can we call it? Let's assume it's radio. Okay, that was very easy. Yep. And let's say this is a waste bin. So we go geo. Oh, let's get it. Waste. Waste. No, let's not call it the frequency knob. Frequency. And we're going to do camel case knob. Oh no, frequency knob. That is spelled knob. This one is, let's call that geo. And it's a nameplate. You can use, you can use uppercase if you want, but if you start looking for an uppercase and lowercase, it might be the case, that you won't be able to find it, or someone will look for it and not put it in if it's case sensitive. And the final one is, we call this the lid, geo, and if doesn't take spaces. So if I press space, it gives you a space, but if I type lid in, it'll put an underscore in. Okay, so we've got, so now we know it's a geo. This is a curve, so we could call this CRV space. It'll put an undercurve, and we call this aerial extrude. Aerial extrude, and we can extrude an aerial down there. Yep, and these are NURB surfaces, so we could call this CRV cube, and what have you. So you're naming stuff here. Okay, so now we've got all these objects around, and they're all sort of moving around and what have you. But there's no. So let's say I'm going to do a little bit of jiggery pokery. Let's just make the radio a little bit bigger, and I'll just move it out of the way for a sec. And we'll make the lid. Oh, hang on. Let's get my. We'll make the lid. We'll just scale that out, and we'll just stick that over the top there. Should stick that over the top. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, there we go. Right, pop. That's a lid. It is a lid. Trust me. And we'll scale that down, and we'll scale it out. So imagine we've got a lid here. Yep. And if I press rotate, let's go E. And I want the pivot over there, but I'm not going to confuse you. So let's assume that's our lid. Of course, we'd want to rotate it around the hinge there, but don't worry. And this is a knob, so I'm going to bring it down here and press V for vertex. So, oops, I go W, hold V, that'll snap to vertices. Yeah, and we've got a knob there. And this is our face plate, and we'll press V on that as well. And we'll just stick that a little way up there. So let's assume we've got a radio here, okay? And clearly the radio is not in the right place. Okay, let's get rid of these curves here because they're annoying me. No, we won't get rid of them. Okay, so that's all right, but it's in the wrong place. I wanted it to be on top of the grid here. Yeah. So let's start moving it up. So I need to select all the bits. There we go. Oh, not that. Geo lid. I can right click in here. So I control click in there, and I start to move it. Okay, it's a little bit awkward, isn't it? Okay. Suppose I want to rotate it. What happens? Oh dear. Things going wrong here. That's because the transforms rotations happen. We're selecting them as objects. So this is actually rotated already. So we're getting misaligned transformations here. So when we go, oh, well, why don't we freeze the transformations here, make it all 0? Yeah, that's not going to work because then we're not going to be able to animate it. So what we can do, we can create a group, and it's called create a null. If I can remember how to do it, and a null. So let's have a look now. So I could select all these and go Control G. Now we've grouped it in a group. We've got a little group, and remember that's got that little node there, the little what do you call it? Sloping diagonal, a sloping lozenge there, and that's group. And as per our naming convention. You can't see it because I've got it still up. Damn. Okay, so what we've done, I've just renamed these objects. Sorry about this. And I've put my object up here, and I'll just show you what happens if you select a few objects and move them around. You get transformations. They're all local transformations. So this is already rotated. So I've put it into a group, holding Control G. Yeah, and I can go grp underscore, and we call it radio. Sorry, I didn't realize I had the thing still on. So that's great. So now if I select the radio, you can see that we can now move the whole thing as a group, which is expect because the radio is consisting of components. Now you can see that that's in the wrong place. But if I go to poly modeling, we've got something called center pivot, which could sort of help us to move it. We could also move the pivot. If I hold D down, we can move the pivot down to the base. There we go. Okay, so now we've got our little radio there. Okay, so that's good. So Control G is good. We can also, if I move these out of these, I can click. Oh, I can shift, drag, click these out of the group. So now these are all separate. So if I drag the group, it's just an empty group, or a null. Sometimes it's called a null because it's just a transform. Remember, these are made of transforms. And if you remember, if I click shapes, you can see we've got a transform, the geolid, and then a shape under it. Whereas the radio group is just a transform on its own. So we'll hide shapes. Now to put that back in, we could just click and then middle mouse drag on top of it. Or we could go parent last selected to last selected. So if I go to, I can select two objects. So I could select that and the radio. And if I go P, that parents it. So it's another quick way of parenting stuff. And that parenting and child parent hierarchies will become very important when we start thinking about animation. And, you know, if you've got undercarriage coming down on something, I'm already thinking about spaceships. That'd be very useful. So we can middle mouse click on that. There we go. I can go, you're my parent. So this one goes, where's my dad? And I click on there, press P, it does it. The only problem is if you do it the other way around and press P, you can't parent to an object to one of its children, but sometimes you can get mixed up. So this is reaching out to its parent, P. So now we've got a group here. Yep. And if you want to unparent something, you go Shift P. Now unparents it. Okay. And we can also do that in here. If we had the GRP as a radio, so let's just do that here. We'll Shift P these. So if I select the radio there and I shift select a few objects here, let's do those 2, 3, and then I go Shift P. I think I've done that the wrong way around, haven't I? Yes, done it the wrong way around. So if I select these and then shift, sorry, that's Shift select. Let's do it again. And I go Control Shift, Control right click on that, left click on that, and then press P. It parents it. So it's really a quick way of doing it if you remember which way around it goes. So now I have got, if I select our radio, we've got our little radio here. There you go. So that's a quick way of a quick intro to naming some stuff here. I'm going to get rid of that one. Just press delete. There is, of course, Control Z undos. Okay. So we'll get rid of that. Now, where are we? Display layers. So we've got our nice box here. Now, I've got to try and remember which way is it 4, 5, 3, 2, 3. Might go 2, 3, 4. Okay, I can't remember. Right, 4. Okay, it starts with 4. Quick keys for changing wireframe on shaded is 3 for wireframe, 4 for shaded, 5. Oh, okay. 6. That's lit. Is there not a hotkey for this? Wireframe on shaded. Okay. So that's 4 for wireframe, 5 for shaded, and then we got 6 for textured and 7 for lit. Don't know what 8 does, but yeah, so it misses out. But I quite like having wireframe on shaded because it looks pretty cool, and you can generally see, like if I turn wireframe on shaded, I cannot see this geometry here, so we can put that on. There we go. And also, what other keys? I'm not going to get too much into modeling. Right, so we've got our object here. Okay, let's assume we've got oh, I'm going to make another radio, so I'm going to go Control Duplicate. Yes, Control D, duplicates. That good. Control D. So I've got 2 radios now. Let's put one radio over here, and that's radio 1. If you start duplicating stuff, it will, that's not in a group, it will start appending stuff. So I'm going to call this, put another space, it'll put an underscore there, and we'll call it dirty. So that's going to be a dirty radio. Okay, and you see it put the underscore in, and I can select either one. Now if I start, let's say I want to select some objects, you could start finding trouble trying to get the correct object. So another way of managing the is you can, if I remember, it's hide. We got display, show. We can hide objects if I can remember how to hide it. Display hide, yes. So that's Control H and Alt H. So if I select the radio and go Control H, that hides it. If I go while it's still selected and go Alt H, it comes back again. Also, if I select, say, I don't want the lid, I can go Control H and I can go Alt H. Sorry, that's Alt H. Let's get right. What do I do? Unselected items. Yeah, that wasn't right. I've just done everything. So that's Control H. And, oh, it's Shift H. No, Alt H. Alt H. Now, I know unselected items to hide. What did I say? What was it? I can't remember it now. Windows, display. I thought it was hide unselected objects. I do apologize. Show is Shift H. Yes, hide unselected objects. That's another way you can do it. So it's Shift H, isn't it? Shift H. I'm forgetting. There you go. And we'll put the lid back. And because this group is hidden, that all these objects underneath here are hidden. Yeah. Hide unselected objects. You know, I don't think I've ever used that. Display. Hide unselected objects. Oh, that's quite useful. So if I select this and go Control H. No, wait a minute. What was it again? Display. Hide. Alt H. Have I ever used Alt H before? So if I go Alt H, hides all the others. Yep. To show hidden. Now, how do I bring back them again? Display. Show. We've got show last hidden. Show last hidden. That's Control Shift H. Okay. There's lots of keys. I can't remember them all. Okay. So we've got 2 different elements. So let's say I want to start modifying stuff, and we've got loads of objects here, and there's a big clutter of things. How else can we make it a little bit more management, or managing more the layers, so that we don't accidentally start modifying the dirty radio? So let's say I'm going to press A, and whoops, and oh, come on, stop it. I will remember how to use this. And let's say we've got, we select the radio. We've got display layers. Okay. Don't worry about animation layers, but display layers. Oh, I'm going to have to change my little, I don't know if anyone can read them, a little overlay there coming up. It shouldn't interfere. Apparently I can drag it, but I don't know. I've got Claude to write that. I need to change the colors. So I can create a new layer. I can remove a layer. I can create a new layer and assign a selected object. I can move a selection down a list and move a selection up. I can also make a yeah, lots of layers here. Create empty layer from selected. So I'm going to use this for the moment, create empty layer, and I'm going to call this dirty radio. Let's call it dirty radio. Is that going to put a space in? I bet it doesn't, does it? Yeah, I knew it. This is the only thing that doesn't let you seem to put a underscore in. So I'm going to call it dirty radio. And we've got display type. Now we've got different display types. We've got normal, which is editable. We've got template, and we've got reference. Let's make this one a reference object. Whatever goes into this layer would be a reference object. We can hide on playback if you're playing, and we've got a color index. I'm going to select a nice bright, let me think now, nice yellow for that, and we'll save. There's nothing going on this, okay? But what I can do, I can select dirty radio. I can go right click, or in fact we could that's create, and yeah, that's a quick way of creating and assigning it. So I can go right click on that and add selected objects. Now what happens, that's fine. If I click off, we see we've got a reference layer. I can't select this. Okay, we've got little buttons here. So we've got visibility, it's very useful. We've got, I can't remember what P means. And we've got reference. P means, try to remember, but the reference, it's now all yellow. Okay, so we know we're in yellow here. So we know it's in layer. Reference means it's a reference at a sort of a, just a wireframe that you could probably use to model into. Do you know, I can't remember what that means. So I'm going to make that, put that back to reference. Also layers visible. Play means playback. Okay, is that what that means? Yeah, that means playback, I guess. So now I can't select this. I can select it here though and move it, but otherwise I can't select it from the scene. So that's locked. So I'm assuming we've fixed this thing. Okay. So that's useful. And so this is like a geometry layer, a reference layer. Let's make that reference again. Okay, so not reference, template. Yeah, template. Reference is, oops, hang on, we'll get this right in a minute. Reference means I can see it, but I can't select it. Normal makes it bright yellow, because just in case we select it. And T means it's templated. It's a template to use. Cool. So you might want to use one layer for geometry, one for referencing, you know, like if you've blocked something out or it's Boolean something, for like a reference. Where are we? So we've got a reference layer here. Let's make a new one. We'll just make one here, create a new layer, and we'll select the nice radio, and we'll call that final radio. Careful calling stuff final radio. I'm calling stuff final radio. And we're going to make this, leave it as the color as it is. Okay. Because sometimes you want to like a working color. And then all the others are reference colors. But you never know. Like if you had an engine, you could make it blue or green or something. So let's save that. Okay. So, and I'm going to add the stuff to that, and we're going to add selected objects. Pop. Okay, so now we've got two objects, and we can turn the visibility off. This is editable because it's not a template. It's got no color, and also we can move, if you wanted to, you could move things up and down in here. I don't think I've ever done that. So the layer editor is really cool, and also you can put all your lights in here and turn the lights on off. So if you've got lots of lights and stuff and it's causing grief, you can always put the lights into it. I'm not getting into lights today. Yeah, so we've got what options we've got. Add new objects. We can also remove objects for it. So perhaps if I can remember how to move, yeah. If you use the up and down arrows, that moves through the hierarchy. Okay, so if I've got geo nameplate, up arrow, I've got my up cursor arrow, moves it up a hierarchy, and moving down, we'll move down only to the nearest one. That's quite useful for doing, if producing rings and stuff, well, that's get complex as well. There's lots of keys for moving left and right as well. So I can move left and right for the objects and up and down for the objects. Next, left and right goes different next objects in the outliner. Up and down moves through in and out of the hierarchy, but only goes down. So, oh no, once we're in the hierarchy, we can go left and right. Cool, that's cool. I've never used that before in all my years. Just to let you know, I've obviously been using Maya for decades, and it was Power Animator and in games, so I should know what I'm talking about, maybe. So, okay, so we've got one I can't select and one I can select. Excellent. Okay, so let's assume that we're sort of happy with that. Let's make a few new mobs. Quick way to duplicate stuff and move. If you hold shift down, a little clone button comes up, and if I move it, you see it comes up with geofrequency knob 1. Every time you duplicate something, it will come up with a number next to it. And I've known students to make like hundreds of rivets and stuff, and it's so difficult. Yeah, there we go. And that one, and that one. So, okay, so let's assume we've created all the knobs. Now, what we could do, if I move the frequency, if I just move that frequency up in the hierarchy, pop, I can select all those knobs here, and I can go Control G. And now we have another group within the radio group. So you can see how we're building a hierarchy here. And we'll call this GRP and underscore all knobs. I don't know. All knobs. There we go. So now we have all our knobs in here. Excellent. Okay. We could also, if you wanted to, add those knobs, and you see that the pivot point is still out, but we'll talk about pivot points at some other point. We could also put that into a separate reference layer for the different elements as well. Right, so we've got GRP radio, we've got another group in there, you've got GR dirty radio. Yeah, all cool. So let's see now. Don't need to add any radios. We've got that done. Now, saving. If you wanted to save something, we could just go File, Save Scene. But we've also got Increment and Save. Now, that's okay. But if I go to the Preferences, there we go. And look at go to files, animation assets, files, projects. We've also in file projects, we've got a default project directory, and always start in this project. We've got recent history size, increments and projects, recent history size. I wonder what this means. Is that number of the recent history? Number of projects to remember. Then we've got autosave. I'm not a fan of autosave. Okay, not a fan of autosave. You could do it, but Control S is a little bit more. What can we call it? A little bit more. A little more sensible in terms of saving stuff. Then we've got ASCII compression. Leave it as. Don't compress anything. God no. And we've got file dialog. We can use OS native or my default. Display layers, render layers, image files, Python files encoded. So yeah, I think that's where we go up to. Let me close that a second. If we go to file, recent history, this is his recent files here. Yeah, this is what it is. And it also gives you recent increments as well. What I always do, I will go File, Save Scene As, and I will go, and we haven't actually saved it yet. So we're in Part 2 Scenes, so we know where we are. Let's have a quick look. Capture thumbnail for universal. We always look for that for copy to jiggle textures, and I always call it like well, Part 2 is no good, is it? Oops, oh dear. File, Save Scene As. Part 2 is no good. That's no good for us. So I'm going to call it radio model. underscore, and I'm going to put a little, I've just got a radio model. And what I always do is, and we've got S, which is like, let me think about that. Project name. Well, I don't want to call it project name, really. I don't know. But I always like to put version. So I'd probably put like 02 or something like that. Let's go 01 underscore. And then I like to put a, it depends how you want to do it, or 001 if you know you're going to have too many. And I always put notes after it. So because I'm a Mac user, I usually put dashes, but careful. In fact, let's put some dashes in. It depends how it's sorted. So and then I put basics, basic forms. Okay, so I know what I've done in there. I know what I've actually built into this project. So I go save. Okay, so now this is basic forms. So if I move something around, let's just move something around a quick. I can control save that. Let's assume I've done a lot of modeling. A file, save scene as. And I go, oh, it's the basic model. So this is 002. Some people like put in VN or whatever, and I can say controls modified or controls knobs. That's funny. Knobs modified. So I know what's happened in that. And I can do save as. There we go. We can actually add notes to this if I can remember how to do it. I think that's in the attribute editor. If I select an object, I'm trying to remember if it was, is it the attributes? Sure, we used to be able to add stuff in here. Geo radio. I'm sure we used to be able to do that. Never mind. Let's get back into the channel editor. So we're just about coming to the end of it. Sorry that my my word thing was over the top of stuff, but that's okay. We've got nobody watching, I don't think, and that's it for today. That's it. That's it for today. A little bit about scene management, nothing exciting, and all done. I'm trying to think of something else. Shift P. If you want to get this little simple little Word document, just let me know, or PDF, let me know. So this session we've established a little bit of disciplined project structure. Some consistent naming is always important. So if you started with something and keep all the naming conventions, keep all the geometry conventions, the save conventions, the project structure, keep it all, all consistent. So when we come back next week and we go to open recent, we can see we've got radio model 001 basic forms, and we've got 002 knobs modified, and then we've got part 2. Oh, they saved it as MBs. Oh, that's annoying. I thought I'd set that. Let's go to Windows preferences, saving files, projects. I want to save it as MA files. Hello. Huge flies just come in and got me. ASCII file compression. I don't see one for that. File references. No, do that. Axis up. Interesting. Save actions. Nope. How weird. Go away, fly. What the fly's doing here? Yeah. So there must be a. Is it a project window? Is it in here? Maybe I have to file save as. There must be a general options, my ASCII default file extensions. Interesting. I would have thought it'd save my ASCII to do it, but never mind. Okay. So that's it. We set projects. We've looked at the working units and naming conventions. You can always make your own. We looked at the bit grouping up and down. I'm getting attacked here. Looked at display reference display areas just to help you. If you've got complex scenes and you're happy with something, save it. Save it and put it into a display layer so that it doesn't get touched. Save it as project name. S. I don't know what S means. Size. I don't know. And save it as MA. Now, why it's not saving as an MA, I don't know. Next week, if you look at Word, we're looking at primitive construction, and it will be very primitive construction. So we'll be looking at understanding how Maya constructs polygon primitives, a bit like what these are. Cubes and cylinders and spheres and planes and tortoises and cones. And these are the basics of blocking stuff out, which is practically what I've done here. I've sort of blocked something out. It's not brilliant, but you know, blocking out a form is part of modeling. And looking at subdivision counts, editable. Then we'll be looking at delete history. We're looking at the transform node. As always says it here, we've got a transform node and a shape node. Transform is what you select in the object. The shape is hold the vertices. And we're going to look at freeze transformations as well, which if you've positioned something, you don't want, like over on the right. Yeah, if you look at that in here. Then we look at delete history. I'll delete history by type, and then we got an exercise. So that's next week. Cool. That's it. And thank you very much. If there's nobody here, so that's all cool. Cheerio. Catch you next time.